Part 2. What we're now going to do is calculate our balances for each of our accounts. To begin with, make sure you have a look at the account number. For example, this one is 110. Remember, the initial number tells you whether or not it's an asset, a liability, or a capital account. This one is an asset because it begins with the number 1. So the balance is going to be found on the left-hand side, just like it is found on the balance sheet. To calculate the balance, we're going to add everything on the left-hand side. So I'm going to put in our formula, equals sum A3 to A10. And then we're going to subtract everything on the right-hand side of our account. And when we press enter, we will get our updated balance. And we're just going to make that red so that we know that that is the final balance. So here we have office equipment. Once again, it starts with the number 1, so it's an asset, so the balance is going to go on the left-hand side or the debit side. So we're going to add anything on the left and subtract anything on the right. So for this formula, we're going to put equals A20 minus B20. And there we have our balance. Office furniture is also an asset, so we're going to calculate the balance the same way. A28 minus B28. Account number 140, automobile, is also an asset. We only have one entry here, so it's just going to be equals D3. Our formula doesn't change. Now we run into the liabilities because it starts with the number 2. So our balance should appear on the right-hand side of the account because it's found on the right-hand side of our balance sheet. So we're going to, for this one, we're going to take E9, which is our beginning balance, and subtract what we paid out to WestJet in D9. So our balance for WestJet is $833.50. We didn't do anything with Delta Airlines, so our formula is just going to be equals E15. When we get to our capital account and we have two things on the same side, we're going to add those numbers. So equals sum E24 to E25. Notice we have nothing on the left-hand side, so we don't have anything to subtract. Our next account, Jane Rose Drawing, only has numbers on the right-hand side, so that's where the balance is going to appear. So equals D31. Okay, as we head up over to the other side to commissions, all of our amounts are on the right-hand side because that's where they would be if they added to capital. So we're just going to put in our formula, equals sum H3 to H6, and press enter. When we get to miscellaneous expense, our expenses subtract from capital and therefore their balance is found on the debit side. So we're merely going to add the two amounts on the debit side, G14 to G15. And rent expense, we only have one amount, so equals G22. And our last one is automobile expense, and we're just going to add the things on the left side or the debit side. So equals sum G31 to G33. Now that we've calculated our balances, we can now determine whether our debit side and our credit side accounts equal. So cash is a debit account, so we're going to put the balance in the debit side. Office equipment, office furniture, and automobile also has a debit balance. WestJet, Delta Airlines, Jane Rose Capital all have credit balances. Jane Rose Drawing has a debit. Commissions revenue is a credit. And our final three expenses also have a debit balance. Once we have all of those in, we're going to add them up to see if our totals equal. So equals sum J4 to J11. And we're just going to double rule that. Oops. And put a single rule because we added. And then we're going to do the same over here. Or I can also just use this little box. There we go. So equals sum K4 to K7. And you can see that the two numbers equal. I'm just going to make them into currency for you. With no dollar sign. And there we have it. The debit side, or the left side, is equal to $5,497.50, as is the right-hand side, $5,497.50. Therefore, you've completed your work correctly. Congratulations!